Erin, thanks for sitting down with me today. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you for the opportunity, Sean.
Erin, looking back over the last couple of years, Canterra has had busy days. Filled more than 6 positions, launched 1 oat and 2 canola varieties, and announced 3 new partnerships. All of this is the backdrop of passing Bill C-18, the Agricultural Growth Act. As Director of Industry and Regulatory Affairs, that puts you in a pretty busy spot. This means you have been absolutely wildly busy. How's Canterra managed this growth, and really, how does it fit into the company's overall plans?
Yeah, there's so much going on in ag, like you were saying. I mean, that's part of it with so many other things happening. Canterra Seeds is growing. We're growing our canola business. We're growing our cereals business. We're now in corn and soy and growing that business. And how are we doing it? The whole team is committed to growth and to making it happen. And I guess the other comment I would make is that our core approach to our business, all parts of our business, remains partnerships. So even with that growth, even with branching out, we remain committed to working with partners in everything that we do.
I think that partnership word has been a key ingredient in the language of Canterra over the years, and continues to be. And speaking of that, it was just last year, this time I guess, that Canterra announced a partnership with Lima Grain to establish Lima Grain Cereals Research Canada, of which you play a gigantic role as well. Can you tell me a little bit about the progress that's been made to date with that initiative and partnership?
Yes, that was one of our key partnerships, and as you say, I mean, it was a year and a week ago that we launched LCRC, and that is the other hat that I wear as CEO, getting that business up and running. We've done a lot in the year since we announced the launch. We've hired Jason Reinheimer as our senior breeder. He joined us from Australia just a few months ago, really, and a support team for him. We have access to the top technology that's available. We have tens of thousands of lines in the field already being evaluated, and our first products could hit the market as soon as 2018. So we've been busy. We're looking forward to the next year or further. We're going to continue to grow our program, and our objective is to produce the top cereal varieties for Western Canadian farmers and for their customers.
Excellent. Now I'm going to ask you to step back and look 10,000-foot level. When you look at the seed industry, we've passed Bill C-18, we've adopted PBR 91. What would your current evaluation be of the environment, and what does the seed, as the seed industry, what do we need to stay focused on for the future?
So, looking to the future, I mean, C-18 and particularly the changes to our Plant Breeders' Rights Act, so that it now recognizes the terms of UPOV 91, that was critically important. Having just talked about LCRC, Lima Grain Cereals Research Canada, that partnership, that wouldn't exist. We would not have launched that company in partnership with Lima Grain if C-18 hadn't passed and if Canada didn't now respect the terms of UPOV 91. So what I think it's done immediately, it triggered investment. There's ours. There's been other investment. That's one very key point of it. The other thing it's done, and I guess really the reason for that triggering at least some of that investment, is that now internationally there's greater confidence. It's an additional tool to be able to protect breeders' intellectual property in Canada. So, that's very important to the climate and to ensuring ongoing investment, hopefully. What else needs to happen? Now that we have that in place, that was a big accomplishment, a big change for Canada that's brought us into line with the rest of the world. Now, one of the key next things is going to be moving forward on the discussions on, value capture, value sharing, comprehensive royalty system, whatever terminology you want to use. That is going to be one of the key things that we need collectively to work on next. There are other initiatives that are also going on, discussions on wheat research priorities, for example, seed synergy, for example. A lot of these discussions are happening throughout the industry, beyond even the seed sector, and across the value chain or the value circle, however you want to look at it.
Right. Last week you were in Clear Lake with the Canadian Seed Growers Association. Yeah. This week we're in beautiful downtown Vancouver for the annual meeting of the Canadian Seed Trade Association. And one of the big topics is seed synergy.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what's that going to mean? Where is that going? What are the thoughts?
Yeah. Seed synergy is, there's more and more discussion, as you say, last week, this week. There were quiet discussions before. Those discussions are beginning to broaden out. I think that it's great what's happening in terms of those 6 organizations that are involved, sitting down together, beginning to talk together. We heard last week fairly general consensus that what the group needs to do is really step back and, blank sheet of paper, what do we want? And then figure out how do we get from where we are to where we want to be. Obviously, seed synergy, it's with respect to the seed sector, and what needs to be done, who could or should be doing what, and how do we move that forward. So I'm really encouraged, actually, that that initiative is going on. I know from the discussions this week and last week that there will be different phases. The current phase is really the member or participating organizations having discussions within their own groups, which is what's happening this week and last week, and others as well. Excuse me. And then once there's some sense of what each organization thinks, it'll be a broader discussion with others. Ultimately, of course, the government is going to need to be involved in discussions. The key things that it appears to be doing that I think are really, really positive is trying to bring in line that whole speak with a consistent voice. May or may not be one voice at the end of the day, but a consistent voice across the seed sector so as not to confuse things. And then also an approach, are there overlaps, but also are there any gaps? Right. So that we're covering off everything that we need to cover off. And I'd say, there's no shortage of issues or things to be done. So at the end of the day, it's what's the best way to get done what has to be done.
And I think that the common theme that I heard both weeks, last week and this week with the 2 groups, is that there are a lot more similarities than there are differences. Yeah. And as an industry, I think in the past, perhaps we may have focused a little on the differences, and now it seems to me, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, Erin, there seems to be a bit more commitment to focusing on the pieces where we're similar.
That's what I'm hearing as well. I've had less involvement with the CSGA than the CSTA. It was a great opportunity last week to get to know that organization better. These organizations are attending each other's meetings, planning meetings together. So just as with the value capture discussions, it's going to be important for all of the perspectives to be put onto the table so that there can be a discussion, debates if needed, about all the perspectives, and that'll find the best way forward.
So to say you're a busy woman, Erin, would be an understatement. You've got a lot on your plate. I want a little bit into that brain of yours. I want to know what gets you excited in the morning that jumps you out of bed, because I'm sure it's not the task list that's a mile long, but what gets you going?
That's a really interesting question. I think what I'm most pleased about is, and I was having this discussion with somebody over breakfast earlier today, is the opportunity to be involved in all the change that's happening right now. Somebody said something to me a couple years ago that young people entering ag right now have no idea what a unique time it is, because so much is in play and so much is changing. And I've really never forgotten that comment, and the opportunity to be part of that, to be part of discussions around whether it's C18, whether it's variety registration, whether it's now value capture systems or seed synergy, looking at how that's going to change things. That opportunity and the opportunity to do whatever I can to contribute to pulling the whole value chain together for those various tables and those various discussions.
Right. Awesome. And so now to flip that a little bit to now more into the functional side, I'm curious, can you come up with a few things that from a management perspective help to keep you focused on that vision, but at the same time get done what I'm sure is an arm's length of tasks?
Yeah. That might be the hardest question you've asked me. Yeah, I can't give you a list of 3 things, I think, off the top of my head, but a couple of comments. First off, the detail stuff is important, of course. Trying to keep the big picture, that's part of it. Part of it is making sure the details are taken care of, and we each have our ways of doing that. The one thing that, and especially getting ready for this week and for last week, that I value, I think, in helping to position myself, my thoughts in terms of what's going on, is just keeping an eye on not just what's happening in ag and not just what's happening in Canada, but what's happening in North America, internationally, in terms of current events, whether it's politics, whether it's the economy, whether it's conflicts or whatever, because those things also impact what we're doing and what we should be taking into consideration as we try to figure out what's going to work here. I mean, we've all seen change can happen, unexpected change in a picosecond, and the trickle-down effects, or sometimes direct effects, can really impact our industry. And I think that for the range of events we deal with, in some cases it's really important to know what's happening locally, but for some of those issues, local really means global. So,
well said. Always a pleasure, Erin. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Sean.